All right. Well, welcome everybody. I'm so grateful to have you here on this very special day, Earth Day, for an opportunity to come together, to celebrate, to create an inspiration of what's possible in our worlds, especially when we use technology in right relationship. Now, we just had a really beautiful opening ceremony by Gala, and once again, click going. Before I get into anything mental, I thought I'd share just a little bit more emotional with you guys. Because one of the things that I've noticed being in Boulder, Colorado, with a lot of people who are doing personal growth work, and it's not just a Boulder, Colorado thing, but one of the things I noticed is a lot of people who go through the hero's journey. The going through the shadow, going through the darkness, and coming out the other side with the gifts. For me, when I was 12 years old, it was the first time I thought about suicide. And it didn't last very long, but it put me into depression for a number of years. It sucked. And then I had my awakening experience when I was 22, living in the middle of nowhere by myself. I realized I wanted a relationship. I wanted community. I didn't even know about community really at the time, but I wanted a relationship. And that started my long, harrowing journey of bringing me here, to come out the other side and to share the gifts, the blessings of the pain of that. And I know we all have our own journeys and we all have our own pain, and it feels really important to create a context of vulnerability and authenticity for us to remind each other that that is part of who we are, and that it's okay, and that we can support each other and learn and grow with each other in the process. And so this is a really big part of what Actualize is about. Now, a little bit about me, kind of tailoring this together. My father was a city manager, and my mom's father, my grandfather, was a police chief. So I have a very strong civic background and orientation. It wasn't as much important to me as a child growing up, but after I kind of got into the world and realized what my gifts were, I'm like, wow, my lineage is actually kind of prepared me for this. And before I even got there, I was actually building technology for marathons and large running events. It's like Chicago Marathon, New York Marathon, Ironman running series. In fact, the Boulder uses the running app that I built. It has over 30,000 five-star reviews in the iOS and Android app stores. And I knew it wasn't my soul's calling. Served a lot of things, it wasn't my soul's calling. I knew I was here for something more. So I moved to Boulder in 2014 to start a conscious social network, because I knew that there was a lot of things that were not serving us with Facebook at the time, or these other social platforms. And it's been a long journey to get here. And I've learned a lot and picked up a lot of connections and friends and learnings along the way. And so really grateful to be here to share some of that. Just want to highlight the fact that when I moved here, I deeply wanted to live in intentional community, to live in and learn from the elders, the people who have been doing this for a long time. Because if we're going to build community, it's not something new. People have been doing it for a long time. So that was part of the process for me, as well as like learning evolutionary biology and philosophy and a background in chemical engineering. So I want to start off in a very grounded way on the evolutionary talk, because you are here. And I don't mean that in a strange way, but like, the image that you see on the right, most people wouldn't be able to identify, and it's the phylogenetic family tree. This is what science tells us, and you'll hear a little bit more from me on science later, but this is what science tells us, that how we are all connected, the family tree of how we are all related. And in fact, this is so zoomed in, you can barely even read the names of the different species that we are next to on the phylogenetic family tree. Learning from evolutionary biology, we get to pull in from a number of different ways. One that you probably hear many times, and one that I love deeply, is the caterpillar to butterfly metamorphosis. And I think it's super relevant right now in the world. There's a lot of things that are breaking down. And that's what has to happen. That's what has to happen in the caterpillar to butterfly metamorphosis. But I don't think that the butterfly, when it comes out of its cocoon, looks back at the caterpillar and says, screw you. And I just want to land this because I know and I see a lot of people continuing to echo hate and division. How can we come from the caterpillar, the infinite growth capitalism, the dark shadow of what is happening in the world right now that we're all plain to see, and still hold ourselves as those imaginal selves in the metamorphosis? To me, that feels like what we're doing tonight. Coming together like imaginal selves, building coherence, an ecosystem of different gifts that each of us have in the larger unfolding of the beautiful world that we know in our hearts is possible. I told you I'd tell you about science because it's really important to understand where we've come from. And where we've come from is a very science-based philosophy and culture. About 2,500 years ago, there was a split in philosophy. There was two main schools. There were the Pythagoreans, who would break things down to component shapes and geometries to understand the nature of the world. This is also where science comes from, Latin root sci, scissor, to cut, cutting things into their component parts to understand it. Makes a lot of predictions. It's what's guided modern culture, because it makes predictions. But the other school of philosophy that kind of got overlooked, you might call it a little bit more feminine, is the holistic. That we are a living system inside of a living system inside of a living system that you cannot cut apart to understand. This is also why science is having a really terrible job, doing a really terrible job about informing us about what the soul is, about what the ego is, who we are. And so, to me, again, like left brain, right brain, in nature, typically it's the hybridization that creates the highest expression. We have these two main schools of philosophy to pull on, to synthesize and to weave a holistic viewpoint that is in more service to us, to each other, to our relationships, and to this earth that we are a part of. And this is echoed in a really beautiful thing, and also terrible. The divisiveness between governance and religion in our culture and society. They've been the two main pillars for as long as we can have recorded history. The governance really came about when we had, agriculture and we needed to organize and distribute resources. It's a very, physically grounded thing. It's like we have food that needs to come in, we have water that needs to get to people, and we have shit that needs to get out. And we need to organize around that, so we need governance. The other side, religion. It's actually one of the biggest glues in bringing people together in a community, interestingly enough. And you might say it's because people believe in the larger living whole, or God, that they're a part of. And that's a really binding thing. It brings people together to believe the same thing. They've been at odds. And I don't even know if I want to go into the history about that. But what I want to speak to is what I believe to be, just coming from the thing I just shared about philosophy, the weaving of the fact that the larger whole system that we're a part of is the earth. Yeah, you might call that a religion, if you believe that. But I believe that it's a binding force for us in this day and age, when we have things like the internet, we have things like global trade that really echo the fact that we're part of a larger living whole. And if we don't take care of it, we don't recognize that. The larger living whole that we're a part of, larger living systems have homeostasis and will learn to take care of us. Going through the evolution of humanity, you can actually kind of map it to what's the primary consciousness. So like in early days, cavemen, they were about survival, very root level energy. And once we started agriculture, then it was more relational, and like Greek culture was also very pleasure-based because you had more time, space, capacity for that. And obviously during that time and through the modern era, then kind of shifting to the primary mode of consciousness of solar plexus of power over dynamics. And that's actually one of the biggest one of the biggest things that is driving our culture and society. And I think many of you have probably heard the quote, but when the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. And that's the transition that we're in on a consciousness level. And I'll just speak very briefly, even the evolution of our city spaces by the fact that, you know, back in the day, we had city squares, and it would bring people together. And now we have cars, and most of the infrastructure in the United States built around cars is very distributed. It's spread out. And so we don't even have infrastructure. I think the term that they use is third spaces. That is in between where people work and where they live, to come together as a community. We've lost that just by the infrastructure itself. This is one of the things that technology can support us with. I'm going to skip the governance part for sake of time, aside from highlighting the facts that the United States government, something that a lot of people don't know and understand of the history of it, is that it was informed by the Iroquois Confederacy, 5 Native American tribes in upstate New York. And the bicameral legislature that we have now was informed by them. So I just wanted to point that out, and also point out the fact that clearly that system is breaking down right now too. And this all leads to, I think, a really important point, which is, you know, everything is a tool. You know, I think a lot of people right now are scared of AI. A lot of people are scared of guns. Do you ban guns? Do you ban AI? What do you do? Well, inherently, they don't do anything bad, just as in the same way that a hammer doesn't do anything bad. A hammer can build a house, and a hammer can cause destruction. It's in the hands of who is wielding it. And unfortunately, we live right now in a culture and society, pardon if it feels disrespectful, but a lot of children running around creating messes and destruction without consciousness, awareness of the impact that they're having. So this feels like a really important piece if we are to create tools and right relationship. We have to transform our culture of how we use them. I just wanted to throw in this really beautiful image by Alex Gray. And so, again, shifting from our human history, learning from it, recognizing it, building on it, informed by the patterns in nature and evolution, also requires us to shift our consciousness. And this is what this event is really about, is to share these codes. And I'll share a little bit more about that. We have some pretty big system problems right now. And these tech platforms that are meant to bring us together are actually causing a lot more harm. They do some good, don't get me wrong, and I'm not here, again, caterpillar to butterfly. Great, thank you, Facebook, for all the things you taught us. But as we know, depression rates are soaring. People are feeling more disconnected. And obviously, they're not building it from a place of in service to the larger whole that they're a part of. And then on the larger collective culture side, we don't have much systems to support us in even understanding if we're on the right track. We have GDP, happiness, and depression. Really? That's the best metrics we have. And we don't have any major tech platforms that are actually supporting people in understanding this, let alone connecting people to resources to support them. And that's what Actualize is about. This is a really stark graph of depression rates over time. It's continuously rising since 2015. So our vision with Actualize is a world where everyone is resourced to support their well-being, empowered to discover and share their purpose, and aligned to the common interest of the earth. I hope I get to do a planetarium tour sometimes. This is from the 2015 show that we did at Landry Jones. And so now I want to kind of bring it to the evolutionary biology part. Because again, the more we learn from nature, the better we're able to be nature and build on it. So there's 3 main pieces that I want to talk about. Evolutionary feedback, horizontal gene transfer, and endosymbiotic evolution. I swear I'm not going to get too petty about it. The evolutionary feedback, especially as it relates to the internet. Yeah, I mean, the internet is being used to track people. What are they clicking? What are they looking at? The metrics that they're using is about exploiting. How long are people looking at something? What are they looking at? What's the profile so that we can most effectively advertise them, which is where the money comes from. It's driven by fiduciary responsibility, not collective interests. So the way I see it in the actualized internet, it's like using the internet like it's the central nervous system of the planet. With that level of reverence and respect, designing our feedback systems intentionally, just like we do in business. Nothing wrong with that. KPIs, key performance indexes. What are we measuring? Are we doing good? Let's track well-being. Let's track well-being. If by tracking well-being, we can support people in their process of actualization. I'd love for you to see some of these amazing tools that we have in Actualize to support this. This is our well-being tracker. And so it's a really simple survey for people to just really simply go, whoop, 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 whoop. Here, this is how I feel, my physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, occupational, financial, and environmental well-being. We're generating data that's actually meaningful at that point. And not just that, we're actually generating data for people to see individually, for people to be able to set goals, and to better understand what these different aspects of well-being even mean. And this can also support us in a social context as well. So this is version 2 of the app, which is now available to anybody here who has a lifetime membership token. It's on the homepage of the Actualize app for you to be able to toggle between the two. And this is the feedback mechanism. This is highly visible feedback on the home screen. And you can actually even see it on the Boulder level, the aggregate of the well-being of the people in the Boulder community. You can even then see social acupuncture points. What might be most supportive for people in the Boulder community in terms of workshops, in terms of products, in terms of services and deals. And then finally, you can see it on the Earth level. So we have a level of gamification that you can actually see individually, locally, and planetarily. We have eyes to see how well we're doing. But it takes participation and care. We can even compare our own individual well-being to the local well-being, seeing where we're at. We can track the well-being. This is actual real data, by the way. I've been collecting this information from people in Boulder, Colorado for like the last year. And we can even see over time, for example, that physical well-being has actually been going down. That's not great. Might want to do something about that. Probably. And so one of the things on the governance side of things I just want to get to very briefly is a feature that we haven't actualized. I think it's quite revolutionary, is being able to use AI in right relationship. So, follow this track. We ask a question, what is really important that's missing that would support you or your local community? People get to respond. We gather the responses, we send those to AI, we create a data set, and then we can ask questions of that data set to gather insights and patterns from the responses. This is really powerful, especially because it supports governance and making better decisions with more meaningful feedback. It's a better engagement opportunity for people to have their voices heard. It provides greater insights and can run at any time to gather immediate feedback. How many people here, show of hands, actually like our current governance process? No judgment, I'm just curious. All right. That's what I thought. How many, just curious, how many people are afraid of AI? Again, no judgment, just curious. Just a little bit. Yeah. Again, it's in the hands of the people that use it, right? So we can use it in intentional ways to support us. This is another really amazing tool. It's based on the study that was done in Washington, D.C., where there was over 4,000 transcendental meditators that gathered in Washington, D.C. And they were meditating on peace and saw a 23% reduction in crime just by a focused intention from a decently large group of people. So imagine then creating nonlinear change by focalizing people's energy with intention. For example, this example is about the floods that happened in Asheville, North Carolina. Can you imagine if there were 50,000 people who all at the same time said, hey, let's send our love, let's send our prayers, let's send our healing energy to the people in Asheville. And then you get to actually see the people on the global map in the same way that the astronauts, when they looked down from space, saw no borders and boundaries. Pale blue dot, breaking it down. The larger whole that we're a part of, aligned and focalized for healing. Horizontal gene transfer. It's not the strongest nor the most intelligent that survives. It's the one that's most adaptable to change. I'm sure many of you have heard this. It's actually a beautiful thing in nature, but we don't do it very well as human culture and society. It's actually antithetical to business. Why would I share my innovation with you if you can then use it and I have less power? I can make less money from it. So again, working together for the common interests of the whole. There are two forms of gene transfer. There are vertical gene transfer and horizontal. I mean, we're very familiar with vertical, two parents come together, have a kid. Horizontal gene transfer is essentially a cell that's sharing its DNA with other cells. It's like what bacteria does when it adapts to an antibiotic. And we know that bacteria are very adaptable to change. We're constantly evolving our antibiotics because of it. So we want to share this on a human level. We all have codes. When we come together, it's an opportunity for us to share these codes. So the way we see it, the more community events there are, the more opportunities there are for people to share their gifts, their codes, and opportunity for us to evolve, to learn, to grow, to experience a more beautiful world, because we're shedding the codes that no longer serve and taking the ones on that are supporting us. So in Boulder, we have 3 to 7 events happening every single day, about 1,500 in the last month, last year. Everything from ecstatic, yeah, no, that'd be crazy, right? Boulder's lit. So ecstatic dance, men's groups, women's groups, authentic relating, circling, tea ceremonies, breathwork. You're going to hear from some of the event producers in our community who are sharing these amazing opportunities to connect. And this is a beautiful way for us to feel a deeper sense of belonging, connection, growth. The last one I want to share is about endosymbiotic evolution. It's probably the most important, because what distinguishes prokaryotes from eukaryotes? Prokaryotes, simple DNA, floating around DNA of bacteria and viruses. But the magic of life really came in with endosymbiotic evolution, endo within, symbiosis, right, relationship with. And different parts came together, working together for the common interest of the whole. And this is when we went from single cell to multi-cell to hundreds of trillions of cells of human, working together for the common interest of the whole. And I believe that this provides us that pathway of understanding in science that we are a larger living whole of the planet. We need to design our systems that way. And the fragmentation of our tech systems is not helping us. We're not working together. We're actually actively competing against each other and actively causing harm because they're in it for their own self-interest. And if you have a group of cells in your own body that are growing out of their own self-interest, you labeled that a cancer. And I don't know if you noticed, but the world is not very healthy right now, in my personal opinion. Not cancer. And we don't have any shared ecosystems that are here to support us grow, evolve, adapt, and leveraging these different aspects of our digital lives, learning from where we came from. So we have this really beautiful framework set up in version 2, such that other developers can come in and create little micro apps. So somebody might have an idea of creating something like a garden box sharing tool, or a tool sharing template, or any number of tools, because the system is set up so that we can grow, adapt, and evolve. It's not the strongest, nor the most intelligent, but the one that's most adaptable to change. So we have about, well, actually now it's about 5,000 users in the Front Range region, $15,000 to $20,000 a month in ticket sales. About 100 of that current active event producers paying us $11 a month to post to our calendar. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you guys. You're crushing it. And interestingly enough, we're running on 100% renewable energy infrastructure. AWS, surprisingly, is actually doing pretty good in that game. And pretty much $0 marketing, 100% word of mouth growth. spreads really amazingly. Just want to share very briefly about our market because there's about 50 million people in the United States considered to be cultural creatives. And these people they emphasize developing and maintaining relationships. They have a deep care and respect for nature, for women and children and community, and have an optimism towards the future. There's a lot of them. But we have not really done the work of bringing them together yet. So where we see our growth is growing into the next major cities of Denver, Asheville, Austin, San Diego, probably even Hawaii as well. Connecting with local networkers and event producers, as well as, now that we have version 2, having a system that is actually supportive of us, even if we don't have a local community yet, but actually helping to see these local communities. And how we get there financially is really important, right? You know, much of the tech platforms grow because of, you know, you might say that in the same way the petrochemical, you know, fertilizers that help grow plants that, you know, also are not healthy, they receive money from these investors who care about returns and not about impact. We're here to build this technology for community. We believe that we have this really amazing model that supports us in raising money from the community so that we can build it for who we care about, not the people who are trying to get money from it, although it has an opportunity to make some money in return as well. So it's based on the golden ratio, which is, again, if we're learning from patterns of nature, it's the natural growth pattern of life. You see it everywhere. It's the Fibonacci sequence, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 15. And so at each rung of the layer, so we just, for example, released 4,000 tokens, $4,011. Once all those sell out, then we'll release 6,000, 7,000 tokens at 15. And once all those sell out, then around 11,000 at 19. So this is actually a really innovative model because we're getting out of speculative economics. There's some speculation, I guess, if you want to say, on the growth, but we're actually saying the value is in the network. As the network grows, the value grows. This also makes it so that it's not a security, so we actually can receive money and investment from people in our community, as opposed from the people who have our accredited investors. What's also really nice, opening round at $11, ending round to sell to 10% of the world's population at 103, super reasonable in terms of cost. The cool thing, selling at 10% of the world's population, it would generate $68 billion. And in the end, everybody has one token. So in the end, everybody is like, at the most, you paid $103 for a lifetime membership. And this model raises $68 billion. And 10% of the world's population, because 10% of the world's population controls 85% of the world's wealth. We want to create something that's equitable for every single person on the planet. So this is our model, $68 billion. And just to talk very briefly on the business model and bring this in for a landing, we're currently registered as an LLC. Our goal is to transition to a co-op, which is collectively owned and governed. This feels really important, especially as we evolve technology for the larger living whole. We should all have a say. Inside that, we see a 508c1a, which is an opportunity for us to create something in the private domain, which gives us some of these religious freedoms and flexibilities, while also maintaining a boundary layer in the same way that we have a nucleus and a cell. Long term, we want to get to 1.5 million, because to run a tech platform, to have a couple developers, to have marketing, to really help this scale, that's what it takes. From the community that's here, I believe, I know that we can get to 50 or 100 or $200,000, $250,000. And I know it also might not fully exist in the room right now, but I also know that we are more than just our pocketbooks. The deep level of relationships that are available to us in this room make something like this possible, to really help take this to the next level, to really help get this out there in the way that it needs to be. We can grow slowly, we can grow incrementally in this area, which we will. Ain't stopping us. But if you really want to see this take off, you really want to see this type of work, this type of platform, what we're showing up for in the world, there are more ways than you can help with money. You need money. We'd love for you guys to help in whatever way that you can. Well, I'll start with some of the other people on the team. We got Blake Cahill, Kevin Wong, and Matt Suri, all really amazing people. May's been a deep brother. He's our community catalyst and was really amazing at bringing people together, showing up as a brother. We have an amazing advisory council, my dad being a city manager, ex-CFO of Gala, who helped get them from 0 to 600,000 subscribers. Alva, thank you so dearly in all of this. Like, ex-CFO or CEO of Silicon Valley, twice over, Steve Farrell, who runs Humanities Team, which shout out to Humanities Team because they are one of the sponsors to this event. They bring people together online through educational contents, supporting conscious evolution, supporting conscious living. Really amazing work. I also want to call out one of our tubbers, some of you may know her. She was a mentor of mine. She passed a few years ago, but she's considered to be the mother of conscious evolution, and I know that she's with me and she's with us always, as well as some many other really amazing people. So this is our current distribution of how much we've raised, how many tokens we sold, and how many backers we have. At the rest of the evening, we encourage you to join us at the back booth and purchase some membership tokens. And we'll have a live view of this for you to see as we go throughout the night and how that changes. So, thank you. Blessing to share all this with all of you.